Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our financial aid mini webinar series. We're going to do a series of 3 videos to help you guys submit your financial aid application for the 2021-2022 school year for the FAFSA for 2022-2023. So this will be doing your FAFSA for starting college in the fall of 2022. I'm Erin Mosley. I am a college advisor for Mathis High School for the 11th and 12th grade.
My name is Nathan Schwausch, and I'm the 11th and 12th grade college advisor for Sinton High School.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with part 1. Today, we're going to be talking about your FSA ID for the FAFSA. So the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. This is required by colleges, scholarships, pretty much anywhere if you're wanting to get financial aid. Even scholarships need them. So make sure that you're doing this, even if you don't think you're going to qualify for any financial aid based on need. So part 1, FSA ID. This is essentially your login information for your FAFSA. You have to create this beforehand because it is verified with the government that it actually is you. So make sure you're putting your correct information on here as this serves as your profile. This is what you're going to be using whenever you submit your FAFSA, when you log into it, pretty much throughout all steps of the financial aid process. As a student, you need a FAFSA for you need an FSA ID for yourself, and also at least one parent needs an FSA ID. If you have an older sibling, your parent may already have created one, so check with them, and if they don't know about it, ask your siblings as well. This is the first step of the process, and after today, we'll dive into the other processes, but we're just going to focus on FSA ID for today.
All right, so let's get started with helping you all create your FSA ID. So as Erin mentioned, both the student and one of their parents are going to have to create an FSA ID. To do so, you're going to go to the website that is listed on the screen. That's fsaid.ed.gov. Now, before we jump in, I do want to mention that the screenshots that we used are from when I created an FSA ID a year or so ago. So they might not look exactly the same as the website does currently, but the steps are still the same. The process is still the same. So this information will still be applicable, even if it may look a little different. So once you go to this website, it'll bring you to a page where it'll give you the option to create your username and password. So just like creating a username and password for any other account, you're going to create a unique username for yourself. Can be something like initial of your first name followed by your last name and a number. And then it's going to ask you to create a password. Just simple password, uppercase, lowercase letters, 8 to 30 characters. Make sure that when you create your username and password that you find a way to keep track of it somewhere. Year after year, biggest issues we see with students and the financial aid process is that they simply don't remember their username and password that they create here. And then they have to go through resetting their password, and that can just really make the process a lot more complicated, and it can even freeze your financial aid account for up to 30 minutes when you reset your password. So make sure you save it somewhere, write it down on a piece of paper, put it as a note on your smartphone so that you can come back to it later. Once you create your username and password, it's going to ask you to enter your personal identification information. So of course, that's going to be your first name, your middle initial, last name, your date of birth, and then your social security number. Make sure when you enter your social security number that it is entered exactly correctly. Another issue I've seen students run into is that they just enter their social security number wrong. Underneath the box where it lets you type in your social security number, you can check a box that says show text, and you can make sure that the numbers you are typing in are correct. When you create your FSA ID, it must be verified through the Social Security Administration that the information you entered is correct, that you are who you say you are. If you use the wrong social security number, if you make a typo, that can cause your FSA ID not to be verified, and then you won't be able to use it to create your FAFSA, which is not helpful at all. So make sure you enter it correctly. Next, it's going to ask you to enter your contact information, so your email, phone number, and mailing address. When you enter your email, please use your personal email address. Keep in mind that you're going to be submitting your FAFSA for each year you're in college. So if you use your school email address, you're not going to have access to that school email address after you graduate high school. So if you use your school email address, you might not be able to access your FSA ID after you graduate from high school. So please use a personal email address. If you don't have a good personal email address, go ahead and create one through Google, and make sure you use that from here on out on any college or even professional related stuff. All right, so next I'm going to turn it over to Aaron, who's going to talk a little bit about challenge questions and answers and verifying your phone number and email address.
All right, y'all. So since this is linked to your social security number, there is very high security around your FSA ID. If you forget your password at some point in time, you're going to need to go through the recovery process. So one of the ways is their challenge questions and answers. So challenge questions, these will be like, what is your mother's maiden name? What was your high school mascot? What city were you born in? And you're just going to select which ones that you want to answer and then type in your answer. I really recommend clicking on the show text and taking a picture of your challenge questions and answers for all of them. Because just because you capitalize something now doesn't mean that you're going to remember to capitalize it in the future. So please, please, please take a picture of it, write it down somewhere so you know exactly what your challenge questions and answers are. Another way to get back into your account if you get logged out will be through your phone number or email address. So this is kind of the final step on creating your FSA ID. It's going to ask you to verify your phone number and email address. So they're going to text a code to your phone that you're going to enter in, and then they'll do the same for your email. If you do not complete this process while going through and creating your FSA ID, all the work that you've done is essentially discarded. It doesn't want to keep your social in there unless you have access to it and can get in it through one of these verified methods. So if you don't do this, you're going to have to start over from scratch. If you get your phone number changed in the future, that's okay. You can still get in by email or similarly opposite. And if neither of these methods work, then you're going to rely on those challenge questions. So once you verify both your phone and your email, it's going to log you out. And then you'll log back in to see that your FSA ID has been properly created. This is the final step, making sure that everything is in there correctly. It'll say that your FSA ID is now processing. That basically just means that it's being confirmed with the federal government that you are you, that your date of birth, your name, your social, everything matches up. Then once that is completed, usually takes between 1 to 3 days, then you're ready to go on your FAFSA.
All right, so thank you all for tuning in to our mini webinar on creating your FSA ID. And next week, we will be releasing a video where we talk about the actual FAFSA application. So the first part of the application that we'll be working on is demographic information for both students and parents. To complete that section, you're going to need your social security numbers, birth dates, and marriage or divorce dates for your parents. So make sure you have that information available, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye, y'all.